Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Kenyan time, it is 7:40 p.m. Today, the 4th of August, 4 days to the general election. Today, I got a grasp of Standard. By the way, my favorite newspaper is Standard, being that they were my former employer. IEBC, this article, IEBC moves to calm nerves as audit unearths a ghost returning officers. This is a story that I read, and it's very scary. It's one of those stories that I kept on insisting that even when we do analysis, we should always be very cognizant of the mood and what to be said when. I don't think these are kind of the stories that the Kenyan voter need to interact with. But then when I just went through that article written by, it's a report of the KPMG, and the question that came to my mind is, why now? So I will try to answer that question in this analysis, because it is talking about mysterious 14 ghost returning officers who are running 2 million voters, ghost voters, that had to be deleted in the register. And for the avoidance of doubt, and rather for the clarity purposes, I cannot confirm whether the 2 had been deleted, the 2 million had been deleted. This is a story that is unearthing a story that came from KPMG report after they went through the audit of the register. And this report is saying that 14 mysterious returning officers with respective constituencies having 2 million voters that were registered either using fake documents, duplicate documents, IDs that maybe did not belong to the people, and this was pointing to ungazetted polling stations. However, I have a disclaimer that it was in reference to the last 2 general elections, the 2017 and the 2013 general election. Interestingly enough, they were referred to as Embakasi East, Embakasi South clerks and IT users. These 14 ghost returning officers, they are not employed by IEBC. They were not employed by IEBC, and by the way, returning officers are permanent employees of the commission. So when during electioneering period, they just be transferred and changed, one goes to the other. I think there is an internal policy where they try to reshuffle the returning officers, but they are permanent employees. So the 14 returning officers have been permanent employees of the commission from 2013, and they participated in 2017 and 2013 general election. The 14 they are ungazetted and had been working at the commission, topping on top of the 290 constituencies. But sometimes these numbers are taken lightly, but numbers that runs to the tune of millions can easily be manipulated. Now, this is what I got very interesting. Yeah? They were running 2 accounts, and these accounts, one is called Balambala. Balambala is a returning officers accounts, and these are gazetted. The 290 run Balambala. Then we have Balambala. Balambala are the 14 accounts that was run by the 14, and they were ungazetted. Now, these 14 ghost returning officers, I was shocked to understand that they could transfer, truncate, edit, trigger, or delete, or insert data in the IEBC database. Why? How is someone saying this? The custodian of the database, the voters database, even the digital database, the custodian of the database at the constituency level is the returning officer. That is why I was telling you that returning officer is a permanent employee of the commission. If you want to know the number of registered voters in your constituency, you just need to go to the returning officer. It is the returning officer that is the custodian of that document. That is why when Deputy President raised alarm that there was irregular transfer of voters, the commission CEO Morjan Hussein wrote directly to the returning officers to look into the matter. So for someone who did not follow that, that's what happened. Now the revelation is also that amongst the 14 there was a super user known as Postgres. This super user perhaps was the one coordinating these 14 returning officers. Now what KPMG later discovered was that unlike the other 290 who are written and it is tallied with the constituencies, for example, if Kevin Oduor is a returning officer in Southeast Alego Songa, that's my constituency, then it will be Southeast Alego Songa, Kevin Oduor. Now, these 14 returning officers who are in charge of ghost constituencies in the last 2 general elections, the names of those constituencies were not anywhere. And that is why it was called Embakasi South Clerks. The database was not digitally configured, and that is what I really found out key to this finding, that the database was not digitally configured to deactivate users who are inactive for 3 months, and that is why electoral officials who have left the commission could still access the data. Now this is what they mean. If for people who have ever worked in a company, I want to use a very good example. I worked at UN Habitat as a consultant for 9 months. So when you are clearing and leaving that place, what happens is you go and log out everything. We used to have an Outlook account, because it's the means of internal communication mechanism. It was an Outlook account, so it's just like it's an email account. So before you leave, in your clearance, you must log out everywhere. Then you must log out the UN Habitat system, youth and livelihood system. I'm using that example because it doesn't add anything into this, but I'm just trying to explain on how this. So after you leave that place, the only account that you will remain with is my Gmail account, personal Gmail account. If I want to speak with my directors, get directed to my directors, unless I use my Gmail account, but I cannot still access those accounts. Now, the KPMG report are saying, and every other password, actually, if you had access to any password, hata kama ya mlango ya kuingia, you had to get back, and maybe it will be changed if it was exclusive, but of course it's normally changed periodically for safety, for security purposes. So this KPMG report is saying that even 3 months after leaving commission, you could still use your credentials and access the data. And that is pointing, because there is I think it is a policy within the commission that it is not a regulatory, that it has to be changed within 3 months. So KPMG is saying that people who had worked at commission and left could still access the data and do manipulation, because some polling stations were merged. Because what we see here is there was ghost polling stations. I was just to explain in details what was in this story. And the commission came out to say that they don't have ghost polling stations and all polling stations are gazetted. It takes me back to my pitch that I've said over and over again. The best place to invest in this election or in any election is the polling station. That is the best place, so that if the commission is going to give results from polling station X and that polling station doesn't exist, of course all the polling stations will have to put your agents. Now it's upon you take time and sit down and look, out of these 46,000 polling stations. Are they all there? It is a decision that has been made, and of course I agree with the decision by political parties to invest in the polling station. My question was, why do you think this story surfaced? Why do you think this story was published now? Because it is not, this KPMG report was not released the other day. This story was released, the report was out in May, as early as early June. The report was there. I wanted to know who do you think might have triggered this story to be published, or what might have triggered this story to be published, and what is its significance now politically? Ladies and gentlemen, kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our video. When you like our video, through that you are promoting this channel. I also want to continue implore on members of this channel. We have one of our own, Sarah Tieno, who is detained in Kenyatta Hospital, suffering blood cancer, acute leukemia. She has undergone through the chemo sessions, and she has a sort of relief, but the bill inflated to 1 million. So after reaching out, we decided to run a challenge, at least 50 shillings challenge, with a target that if 20,000 people can heed to that call, then just as Team Bold, we will be in a position to get a 1 million check for him. What an amazing support I have seen from members of this channel, and I still continue to say thank you. Asanteni sana. You guys have really been supporting this. We are we have done now 8 days, and we are at 400,000. Because we had a target of 21 days, we know that this is going to be a possibility. You can still reach out and share your support. My number is there, 0710 62 78 89, Kevin Oduor Olo. You can also reach out to Sarah directly. Her number is 0716 357 360. So the challenge I'm collecting as Team Bold, then you can also reach out to Sarah at a personal level, which is also really needed. Why do you think this story is out? Coincidentally, today, the 4th of August, the court has ruled that IEBC must use the manual register. Whether it's going to be primary or it's going to be complementary to the digital register, this is out. I see forces that might have pulled this story somewhere because it's not something new. And again, even if you want to know, sometimes stories are normally published, then politicians take them, they go with them, they campaign trail, and they form a political agenda, or they form a political narrative. But I think on this one, if you have been keen, you will realize that Azimio side, and even Kenya Kwanza team, no one is really poking holes, or rather speaking about this story. But of course, many would have expected them to say something about it. This story came out with an objective. It was to set a ground for the ruling, perhaps by the courts, on the manual register. Because what it points out, if you do an overview of that article, and I encourage us, you can even go and read it online, it points out to inconsistencies in the digital register. And number two, it speaks on to how that register can be manipulated. And because it is exclusively digital, for that, it really points out, and it comes in defense of the court, Supreme Court ruling that IEBC must have the manual register with them at the polling station. I see from where I'm seated that this might be one of the reasons why that story was coming, because the significance is not on what is being revealed here. Whatever is being revealed here is not something new, because this has been here for some time. Now, the expose could be avenues. It was maybe exposed to show avenues of vote rigging. Now, if there is anyone who is crying out there was vote rigging, maybe this and that, then it's simply showing that this could be a way, or these are avenues that could be used to manipulate the polls. And that will be a very significant now, so that political parties or leaders can have sort of some vigilance. Because I want to agree that the politicians and their right to leave it at the commission level, rather at press conference, at the newspaper level, instead of taking it to the campaign trail, because I want to agree it is one of those news that the voters should not be hearing now. But then Kenyans, maybe someone wanted to show Kenyans that 2022 election is different and it's going to be a clean bill, simply by showing that in 2013 and 2017 there have been dirty business. This information, if it's to be understood by someone in Kenya Kwanza, it can be shown that, look here, whatever you have been seeing, maybe of President Uhuru Kenyatta getting 2 million and Raila getting 4 million, had some element, or not 2 million, maybe 7 million, 6 million, had also an input of manipulation. So the bragging of we have numbers or tiny numbers or something has been there. And of course, it shows what has been happening in the past. And to me, I ask one thing. Really, this is a show that there is something that has been going on. The question that a Kenyan might ask, if this has been happening for the last 2 general elections, why is it being exposed? It's being exposed because someone has realized that maybe it doesn't have an impact. Number 2, the story could be coming over just to put the mathematic on the limelight. Because remember the Venezuelan saga, it was putting sharp focus the mathematic. And if you look at here, the custodian, the digital register that IEBC is using, the custodian of that register, the software that is carrying that register, it is actually done by Smartmatic. So someone just wants to put Smartmatic here on the radar because the commission came out to defend Smartmatic on these dealings. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my bold look. I still continue to remind us about Hilary Itela, who is vying for Senate seat in Busia. Watuanga wa Busia is my good friend, is on ballot, and for me I say, if you vote a super senator, then you have supported devolution to some extent.